Stop lying to yourself. Most people are broke not because they don't earn enough, but because they have no respect for the money they already have. I see it every single day. People crying about the economy, crying about their boss, crying about the system, all while they're flushing their future down the toilet, one $28 lunch at a time. Money is like a military. My job and your job is to send those soldiers out into the world to conquer, take prisoners, and bring them back home so you have a bigger army. But instead of building a battalion, you're executing your soldiers. You're murdering your financial freedom before it even has a chance to breathe. If you want the truth, the cold, hard truth, you need to look in the mirror and realize that your habits are the reason you're suffocating. I want to hear from you right now. Be honest, because the truth is the only thing that will set you free. What is the one small luxury you buy every single week that you know, deep down, is a total waste of money? Tell me in the comments. I'm going to read them, and I'm probably going to tell you why you're wrong to keep buying it. Let's talk about the most pathetic habit I see in the modern world, the obsession with stuff you don't need. I call it the closet test. Go into your bedroom right now and open the door. Look at the racks of clothes, the shoes, the gadgets. You probably wear 20% of that junk 80% of the time. The other 80% of that portfolio is just money you pissed away. You bought it because you wanted a dopamine hit for 30 seconds at the mall or because you saw some influencer wearing it on a screen. And now, it's sitting there collecting dust while the money you spent on it could have been compounding in the S&P 500 for the next 30 years. You're trading $1 million in your 60s for a jacket you'll wear twice in your 20s. That's not just bad math, it's financial suicide. I don't care who you are or what you do for a living. If you aren't saving at least 15% of every single dollar that comes across your desk, you are failing. I don't want to hear that you can't afford it. If you can afford a data plan for your phone, if you can afford to go out for drinks on a Friday night, if you can afford to buy a coffee that you didn't brew yourself, you can afford to invest. This is the Georgette strategy, the lesson my mother taught me that made me a multimillionaire. She never earned a massive salary, but she had the discipline of a Spartan. She took her 15%, she put it into dividend-paying stocks and bonds, and she never, ever touched the principal. She let the soldiers work. By the time she passed away, she had a massive portfolio that no one even knew about. Why? Because she had respect for the money. Most of you have zero respect. You treat your paycheck like a hot potato. You can't wait to get rid of it. You get paid on Friday, and by Monday morning, you've handed your hard-earned cash over to the coffee shop, the sneaker store, and the streaming services. You are working for them. You aren't working for yourself. You're a slave to the brands you buy. I buy things in cash. I don't want an obligation to anyone. If I can't buy it twice, I don't buy it once. But the average person, they're drowning in high-interest credit card debt, paying 20% or 25% interest to a bank that's laughing all the way to their own vault. If you have a balance on a credit card, you are in a state of emergency. You shouldn't be eating out. You shouldn't be going to the movies. You should be at war with that debt until it is dead and buried. Then there's the house trap. This is the big one. People think a house is an investment. Wrong. A house is a place to live that sucks money out of your pocket every month for maintenance, taxes, and interest. The biggest mistake you can make is buying too much house. I see people stretching their budget so that 50% or 60% of their take-home pay goes to a mortgage. They're house poor. They live in a beautiful box, but they can't afford to put any money into the market. They're one missed paycheck away from total disaster. My rule is simple. Your mortgage and maintenance should never exceed 1/3 of your after-tax income. If it does, you're a prisoner to your own zip code. Get a smaller house. Live beneath your means. Build your equity and only upgrade when your investments, not your salary, can pay for it. The difference between the rich and the poor isn't just the balance in their bank account, it's the discipline in their mind. Successful people have a high signal-to-noise ratio. They know what matters. They focus on the 3 to 5 tasks every day that actually move the needle on their wealth. The rest is just noise. Social media, noise. Gossip, noise. Buying a new car because your neighbor did, pure expensive noise. You have to become myopic. You have to be willing to be the meanie who says no to the dinner invite or the expensive vacation so that you can say yes to financial freedom later. If you're making $68,000 a year, which is the average salary, and you just have the basic discipline to invest 15% starting at age 25, you will be a millionaire by the time you retire. That is a mathematical certainty. The market gives you a gift called compounding, but you have to be smart enough to accept it. Most people are too busy being fabulous in their 20s to be wealthy in their 50s. They want the appearance of success without the foundation of it. I don't care about looking rich. I care about being free. Money equals freedom. It's the ability to do whatever you want with whoever you want for as long as you want. But you will never get there if you keep treating your money like trash. Look at your bank statement from the last 30 days. Truly look at it. How many of those transactions were for things that actually improved your life or your net worth? Probably very few. You're leaking cash from 1,000 small cuts. That $5 latte, that $15 subscription you don't use, that $70 bar tab, it all adds up to a life of mediocrity. You're trading your life's energy for trinkets. You're giving away your power to corporations that don't care if you starve in retirement. It's time to stop the bleeding. It's time to start acting like a shark instead of the bait. Kevin O'Leary explains why these habits keep people poor. Part 2. Now that you've looked at your bank statement and realized you're hemorrhaging cash, let's get into the psychological traps that are even more dangerous because you probably think they're good habits. We need to talk about the career delusion. I see so many people staying in jobs they hate for decades because they're chasing a steady paycheck. They think security is a salary. Let me tell you something. There is zero security in a salary. At any moment, some guy like me can walk into your office, look at the balance sheet, and decide your department is redundant. If you are trading your time for a fixed amount of money that you don't control, you are in a very precarious position. The habit of being comfortable is a poverty trap. You should never be comfortable. You should be hungry. You should be looking for ways to scale your income that don't involve you sitting in a cubicle for 40 hours a week. People ask me, like, Kevin, should I quit my job and start a business? Not necessarily. Most businesses fail within 3 years because the people running them are idiots who don't understand the cost of goods sold. But you must have a side hustle. In today's world, with the internet and the global reach we have, there is no excuse for having only one source of income. If you have a hobby, figure out how to monetize it. If you have a skill, sell it. The habit of relying on a single boss to feed your family is a legacy of the 1950s that will leave you broke in 2025. You need multiple streams of capital flowing into your ecosystem. Every dollar you earn from a side project should go directly into your investment portfolio, not into a new car or a better TV. Speaking of cars, let's talk about the single biggest wealth killer for the middle class, the auto loan. This drives me absolutely insane. People will go out and lease or finance a vehicle that costs $50,000 or $60,000 when they only make $70,000 a year. You are literally driving your retirement fund into the ground. A car is a depreciating asset. The moment you drive it off the lot, it loses 20% of its value. Why on earth would you pay interest on something that is worth less every single day? It's madness. I don't care if you're driving a 10-year-old sedan with a dent in the door. If that car gets you from point A to point B and it's paid for, you are winning. The person in the BMW next to you at the red light, they're likely stressed out of their mind trying to make the $800 a month payment. They look rich, but they're poor. You look average, but you're building a fortune. Who do you want to be when you're 60? The guy who looked cool in his 30s or the guy who owns the block? And let's address the relationship tax. This is a tough one for people to hear, but it's the truth. Your habits are influenced by the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your friends are the type of people who want to go out for expensive dinners, travel to festivals they can't afford, and complain about their debt over $15 cocktails, you are going to stay poor. Their poverty mindset is contagious. You need to audit your inner circle. I'm not saying you have to dump your friends, but you need to stop letting them dictate your spending habits. If you can't say, no, I'm not going to that wedding in Ibiza because it's not in my budget, then you don't own your life. Your friends' expectations own your life. Wealthy people have friends who talk about ideas, investments, and opportunities. Poor people have friends who talk about other people and what they bought last weekend. We also need to talk about the habit of delayed reality. This is the tendency to ignore your financial situation until it becomes a catastrophe. You don't check your accounts because it stresses you out. You don't open the mail from the IRS or the credit card company because you don't want to deal with it. That is cowardice. Money is a scoreboard. If you don't know the score, you can't play the game. You need to have a State of the Union meeting with yourself and your partner if you're married every single week. You need to know exactly how much came in, exactly how much went out, and exactly how much your net worth grew or shrank. If you aren't tracking it, you aren't managing it. And if you aren't managing it, it will disappear. Another habit that keeps people stuck is the education myth. Now, don't get me wrong, education is important, but the habit of taking on $200,000 in student debt for a degree that pays $40,000 a year is a math error of epic proportions. You are starting your adult life in a hole so deep you may never climb out of it. If you're going to borrow money for school, you better be sure the ROI, return on investment, is there. If you're getting a degree in underwater basket weaving, do it at a community college or don't do it at all. The habit of blindly following the standard path without looking at the numbers is why we have a generation of people who are highly educated and completely broke. You have to be a cold-blooded analyst when it comes to your own life. Let's talk about the guru trap. People spend thousands of dollars on get-rich-quick seminars and secret systems. Here's the secret. There is no secret. There is only discipline, time, and the power of compounding. The habit of looking for a shortcut is a sign of weakness. You want the reward without the work. You want the gain without the pain. It doesn't work that way. Every time you spend money on a shortcut, you're just making the person selling it rich while you stay exactly where you are. Stop looking for the magic bullet. The magic bullet is earning more than you spend and investing the difference for 30 years. It's boring, it's slow, and it works 100% of the time. One of the most insidious habits I see is the entitlement mentality. People think they deserve a vacation because they worked hard. They think they deserve a nice meal because they had a bad week. The universe doesn't care what you think you deserve. The market doesn't care about your feelings. You deserve what you earn and what you save. If you haven't hit your financial goals, you don't deserve a luxury. You deserve to work harder. You deserve to be disciplined. When you use deserving as an excuse to overspend, you are sabotaging your future self. My future self is my best friend. I don't want to screw him over by spending his money today on something I'll forget about by tomorrow morning. I want you to think about your financial DNA. Some people are born with the saver gene, and some have the spender gene. If you are a natural spender, you have to create systems to protect yourself from yourself. You need to automate your investments. The money should leave your paycheck before you even see it. If it's in your checking account, you'll spend it. If it's in your brokerage account buying shares of a diversified ETF, it's working. The habit of manual saving fails because humans are weak. We see a shiny object and we want it. Automation removes the emotion from the equation. It makes you disciplined by default. Look, I'm not saying you should live a miserable life. I enjoy the finer things. I like my watches, I like my wine, and I like my travel, but I only buy those things with the interest from my investments. I never, ever touch the principal. My soldiers stay on the field, and they send their children the dividends to pay for my lifestyle. Most people do the opposite. They eat their soldiers and then wonder why they're defenseless when a recession hits. You need to change your relationship with money. It's not something to be spent, it's something to be grown. Kevin O'Leary explains why these habits keep people poor, Part 3. We've identified the leaks, we've called out the delusions, and we've gutted the excuses. Now it's time to talk about the wealth mindset and the habits that actually build an empire. If you want to stop being a victim of your bank account, you have to start thinking like a predator. In the world of business, you're either the hunter or the meal. There is no middle ground. The people who stay poor have the habit of waiting for the right time. They're waiting for the interest rates to drop. They're waiting for the election to be over. They're waiting for a sign from the universe. Guess what? The universe doesn't care about you. The right time was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Successful people have a habit of immediate execution. When they see an opportunity or a way to optimize their life, they do it instantly. They don't have a meeting about having a meeting. They move. One of the most powerful habits of the wealthy is the valuation of time. Poor people trade their time to save money. Rich people spend their money to save time. If you're spending 4 hours on a Saturday afternoon driving across town to save $20 on groceries, you have fundamentally misunderstood the value of your life. You've valued your time at $5 an hour. If that's how you value yourself, the market will agree with you. You should be spending those 4 hours learning a new skill, networking with people who are more successful than you, or building that side business we talked about. The habit of frugality for frugality's sake is a trap. Be frugal with your consumption, but be lavish with your investment in yourself and your efficiency. Let's talk about the knowledge habit. Most people stop learning the day they get their diploma. They spend their evenings watching reality TV or scrolling through mindless videos. I spend my time reading balance sheets, watching market trends, and talking to the CEOs of my companies. You don't need to be an expert in everything, but you must be an expert in your money. You should know exactly what you're invested in and why. If you can't explain your investment strategy to a 10-year-old in 2 minutes, you don't have a strategy, you have a hope. And hope is not a business plan. The habit of financial literacy is the only way to ensure you aren't being ripped off by advisors who are just salesmen in expensive suits. Then there's the habit of calculated risk. Poor people are terrified of risk, so they leave their money in a savings account where inflation eats it alive. They're losing 3% to 5% of their purchasing power every year because they're playing it safe. That's not safe. That's a slow motion train wreck. Wealthy people understand that risk is the price of admission for gain. You have to be willing to put your capital at work in the markets. Yes, the market goes down sometimes. Yes, there are corrections, but over the long term, the trajectory of human innovation and productivity is up. If you aren't betting on that, you're betting against humanity. That's a losing bet. The habit of consistent exposure to the market is what separates the millionaires from the dreamers. We need to discuss the accountability habit. In my world, if a company misses its numbers, the CEO gets fired, period. There are no participation trophies in the S&P 500. You need to be the CEO of You, Inc., and you need to be willing to fire yourself from your bad habits. If you said you were going to save $500 this month and you didn't, you failed. Don't make an excuse. Own the failure, analyze why it happened, and ensure it never happens again. The habit of radical honesty with yourself is painful, but it's the only way to grow. Most people are too soft on themselves. They give themselves breaks and treats for doing the bare minimum. I don't give treats for the bare minimum. I give rewards for results. Another crucial habit is networking for equity. Look at the people you interact with daily. Are they people who can help you grow your net worth, or are they people who just want to grab a beer and talk about the weekend? I make it a habit to be the smallest person in the room as often as possible. I want to be around people who are smarter, richer, and more experienced than I am. Why? Because their habits rub off on me. Their perspective challenges mine. If you are the smartest person in your friend group, you need a new friend group. The habit of seeking out mentorship and mastery is a shortcut to success that most people ignore because their ego gets in the way. Let's talk about the debt lever. There is bad debt and there is good debt. Bad debt is anything that doesn't pay you. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans for a vacation, that's toxic waste. Get rid of it. But good debt is a tool. It's using a low-interest loan to buy an asset that produces a higher return. This is how real estate empires are built. This is how big corporations scale. But you can only play with this tool once you have the habit of debt discipline. If you can't manage a $1,000 credit card limit, you have no business taking out a $1 million commercial loan. You have to earn the right to use leverage. One of the most important lessons I can give you is the habit of generational thinking. Poor people think about today. The middle class thinks about the next paycheck. The wealthy think about the next decade and the next generation. Everything I do is about building a legacy. I'm not just looking for a quick buck. I'm looking for sustainable, long-term cash flow. When you start thinking in decades, your daily decisions change. You stop caring about the flash-in-the-pan trends and start focusing on the bedrock assets. You stop being impulsive and start being intentional. That shift in perspective is worth millions of dollars. Finally, you must develop the habit of gratitude for the game. Money is just a way of keeping score in the great game of life. If you hate money, or if you think money is the root of all evil, you will never have it. Money is neutral. It's a tool. It makes you more of what you already are. If you're a jerk, it makes you a bigger jerk. If you're a philanthropist, it gives you more reach. You have to love the process of building wealth. You have to find joy in the discipline and the growth. The habit of positive financial energy attracts opportunity. I've given you the roadmap. I've told you why your clothes are too expensive, why your car is a disaster, and why your friends might be dragging you down. I've told you that 15% is the magic number and that automation is your best friend. But none of this matters if you don't take action. Most people will watch this, nod their heads, and then go order a $15 burger on a delivery app. Don't be most people. Be the person who decides today is the day the cycle ends. The path to wealth isn't a secret. It's a series of boring, disciplined choices made over and over again. It's saying no to the world so you can say yes to your freedom. It's being a shark in a world full of bait. You have the soldiers, you have the map. Now go out there and build your army. No more excuses, no more crying, just results. I'll see you at the top or I'll see you from the top. The choice is yours. Now I want you to do one thing for me. This is the first step of your new life. Take your phone, open your banking app, and set up an automatic transfer for tomorrow, even if it's just $50, to a separate investment account. Do it right now while you're thinking about it. Once that's done, tell me in the comments, I am the CEO of my life. Let's see who actually has the guts to change.